Let's talk about liquid glass. It combines the optical properties of glass with a sense of fluidity, make apps feel fundamentally more organic and more immersive and more fluid, is the prescribed words on the Apple website of how it works. But as we all know, we've had some mixed opinions on it. There's some good things. So we've got redesign is out now, liquid glass and beyond. I hated iOS 26 liquid glass, but now I like it. But there's also some negative things too. How to mostly get rid of liquid glass. This liquid glass optical illusion on iOS 26 is driving me insane. These headings are amazing. I love them all. Liquid glass totally wrecks the home screen in iOS 26, and I'm waiting for the option to change it back. As we all know, we all read the human interface guidelines periodically. Everyone does. The hierarchy. Liquid glass is supposed to establish a very clear visual hierarchy where controls and interface elements elevate and distinguish content beneath them. There's harmony to align the concentric design and hardware. And the consistency, so adopt it on all the different platforms and maintain consistent design and continuously adapt across windows and displays. But don't worry if you don't want to do any of that. Use UI design requires compatibility in your info.plist to turn everything off. But as you can tell, warning, like this is in red in the docs, temporarily use this key while reviewing and refining your app's UI for design and the latest SDKs. But it's a warning, it's not yet a deprecation. We will find out what that means and how this is all really going to work. So first, I want to reiterate and make sure everyone is aware, I am not a designer. That's Tamia. So if you have any So if you have any design help or want any design help, ask her. Let's get into just doing some kind of coding, looking at some of the code. But first, the easiest way to implement liquid glass is using system frameworks. So we have all of the different bars, the sheets, the popovers, all the controls. They all by default get liquid glass once you build with Xcode 26. You do not need the macOS 26, but you do need Xcode 26. And then you have to start thinking, do you really need things to be custom or not? And you know what you have to do? Ask Tamia. But start looking at what is the navigation of your application? It's the navigation that really has the liquid glass, not necessarily the content. So as you can see in this app chronicling, you have liquid glass on the toolbars up at the top with the filter and then the plus, but not anything else. So don't worry. If you still do not know, you can kind of go through, read the docs on the website, or you can just ask Tamia. But looking at our navigation, we have the navigation split view, navigation stack, and tab view. All the toolbars and the search. So let's see really within this is the app structure for how you go about implementing liquid glass within these pieces, because it's really the navigation stuff more so than your actual content that gets liquid glass. Navigation split view, you have a new modifier called background extension effect. And all this does, as you can see in the photo, is it takes your photo, mirrors it behind the liquid glass, and now it's under the liquid glass, and it looks beautiful. We also have the tab view, which has tab bar minimize behavior on scroll down specifically. And in this app filter In this app filter, you can see as you scroll, the tab bar then minimizes itself. And similarly, we also have a tab view bottom accessory. So as I was listening to this, of course, we have on scroll down and then tab view bottom accessory, which you can put any kind of view in here. So if you just put hello, it'll just float hello in there rather than, as you can see, Actually Romantic by Taylor Swift. And as you start to scroll, this also then minimizes. So now we just combined the last two modifiers together. But from the tab bar at the bottom, going up to the top, we have toolbars. So there is toolbar spacer fixed and flexible. So looking at it, you have a regular toolbar, toolbar items, but in between them, you can add toolbar flexible or toolbar spacer flexible. And if you can't see that, you don't really can. It's the two toolbar items at the very top. They are separated with a spacer. But something that happens with liquid glass now and what the human interface guidelines recommend are kind of favoring icons over text, which I'm not sure yet how I feel about this because they do say don't use text and icons together. So now you have to specifically start thinking, how does this work? How does it really look? So we have the share icon and then select, but you're not supposed to do this when they are grouped together, which I hope you can see it on the screen, but it's because now it looks like a single liquid glass button. And so when you implement everything that your designer may or may not tell you to do, it can start to get very muddied. And so a lot of the dub videos go through and say, do this, but be careful of this, but do that, but be cautioned. You need it to look right. And to do that, you add a spacer. And now you have two beautiful buttons, and you can have, again, a fixed or a flexible spacer. An interesting one that during the dub, what are they called, workshops that they have, I went to the one that was in New York City, and with that, this modifier, shared background visibility .hidden, is only used in like one place in Apple's apps, which is the Books app. So you can see this is actually only applied on the profile picture. And it looks the same because now it's a button that has liquid glass. So it would have had a circle around it and had all of those interactions, but now it doesn't. And it just looks like a regular button. So after we do all the toolbars, one of the newest things with liquid glass and the design that is kind of throwing people still is the search bar. We have search bar with .searchable modifier, same as it was previously, but now the default is at the bottom on iOS and it is at the top trailing on iPad. So the implementation of it is still the exact same in this context, but that's it. It just looks the same. They kind of just moved it around. And then we have tab bar roll. So with this, we have chronicling again, because Rebecca did an amazing job updating it for liquid glass. And it has the search at the bottom, and now it is separated from the tab bar. So instead of search always being at the top of the screen and farther from where you can actually reach it with your thumb, now it's at the bottom. And so it's easier to tap on. But then, as we all have muscle memory, we keep tapping the wrong thing. But whether or not we actually get around to adjusting to that, we'll all see. But it's basically just now separated, and it can always appear at the bottom too. Going through all of our navigation and what Apple calls the app structure, just start thinking about how does your app work when you use your navigation split view, your navigation stack, all of your tab bars, toolbars, search. You have all of these things already there, but how well does it flow? Because how you're moving through the application is really what they're trying to define more of, because that's why they have the hierarchy and where they want it to work versus not. They want to have a consistent experience from one platform to the next. But don't worry though, if you don't know or you're unsure, you can ask Tamia. Someone asked, what are the rates for Tamia? You'll have to see. DM her. Oh my gosh, this fell off. Am I still good? Okay. DM Tamia on Slack. Everyone do it. Just give her a billion notifications. That's it. Let's talk about controls. The beautiful controls that Liquid Glass gave us are all the buttons, the sliders, the menus, and then the best part is all the custom controls. But again, you get all of these things completely for free just by building with Xcode 26. Yep. Oh, all the buttons. And so here we have the buttons, and again, favoring symbols over text, which feels a little weird sometimes, but that's like one of the main simple things to go in and quickly change. And then as you can see here, we have the X, a calendar, and then the check mark. But don't worry, if you're not sure, you can always ask. With this, you have the button role. You can change the button role to .confirm, and this will automatically make it a check mark. And then in her example, she has a tint of orange, and that just changes the color and making it more prominent just by using .confirm. And then similarly on the other side, we have .cancel. And so you can guess what it does. But along with confirm, cancel, there is then destructive and close, because they can all individually mean different things. And the color can change here and there depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So we have the button style as well. So button style, making it glass. This is what will give it that pizzazz. And as you can see here, it's just a circle, cloud bulge fill, and it has a glass style. And that's what we do, and that's how easy it is. So when you want something to stand out more, which you should do very selectively, is add glass prominent. So this will use whatever the tint color is within your application. And that's all you have to do just to get something to appear as liquid glass for some kind of button. Liquid glass custom views. Yep, we have glass effect container. We have glass, which is a struct. We have glass effect ID, and interactive. So this is called the Landmarks app. So if you start searching liquid glass and adoption of liquid glass, this is the thing you'll get. So this is playing the slow animation for their lovely blobby morphe animation. Is its official government name at this point. And they do say the word morph within all the videos, but this is how it morphs between one button to the next. And this is the kind of thing that you always need to ask a designer about. But you could also be super amazing like Robin is, and she made the app Bukino, which is there. You can translate anything that you read, but also at the bottom here, you have the animation of going in and out of whatever button Tamia did mention in her presentation that I do forget the name of, but it morphs between the different states and then feels like it's all together. And the reason it feels like a single button that is now morphing is because of the glass container effect. And with this, they have what's called a sampling region. So you can have buttons that also reflect the content around it, and that's the entire point of liquid glass, to make your buttons be elevated above your content, but also still be noticeable and adaptive. And then with your container effect, you now have two different things next to each other, and they can kind of interact with each other and know that they exist together. Like I said, glass effect container is just a structure. So you start with your structure and put things in it, different kinds of views, similar to what you do with the VStack and HStack and everything else. So we'll add a VStack and put a bunch of views inside of it. And this is just recreating the Landmarks app. The thing that makes them what they look like and what they are just glass effect modifier. And we have the regular kind of glass and using just a rectangle because the hexagon is its own thing, completely separate, not even related, but just giving it the rectangle shape. And then glass effect ID is very specific for how you properly morph things, because SwiftUI is supposed to know the identity of all the different views that you have, but it may or may not, so you have to help it with that modifier. So what we have here, similar to what Robin's app does, is just using an image and giving it glass effect with interactive now this time, because you can add a glass effect to something and it doesn't have to be interactive. So if we go back to here, if you were to tap on this in the Landmarks app, it doesn't actually do anything and it doesn't morph and blob. So because of that, you then have to use .interactive, as you can see in the button, once it gets tapped and stuff comes out of it, that's where it becomes interactive and like a button, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a button. We have our blobby morphy animations this year. And with that, this is just scratching the surface because I both had a lot of time and not a lot of time when I was making this presentation. And this is the best we can do with what we're doing right now. Because as we've seen through every single beta iteration of Liquid Glass, from 1 to 6 and onwards now in stable, and then 26.1, it's changed every time. So clearly Apple is changing everything. So maybe at this point, just disable it or only selectively enable it for those specific toolbar buttons, because that's one of the most obvious things that users will see and know whether or not is this app updated for the new design. Change those toolbars and it'll already feel like it is, even if you don't change anything else. So when you're going through your app, going through your navigation, figuring out what does it feel like versus how do you want the user to feel throughout the application, and if they come back to it, continue just thinking about that for every platform individually, because it's supposed to be unified together, but also individual for iOS, iPad, Mac, Vision, TV, watchOS, all the different OSs. But don't worry, if you're ever not sure how you should do anything, you can always ask Tamio. Merci.
I have a lot of questions. I think I'm only allowed to have one, but
You're allowed to have as many as you want.
I have 7. I'm going to ask you this one. So I have a bunch of apps that I want to maintain on older OSs. How do I do that with all the new view modifiers? Nicely, while keeping very clean code, of course.
Of course, very testable code as well, right? Very. So with that, one of the simple-ish ways to do that is adding like compatibility modifier. And then inside of that, it's just called that with some other name to it. And then you can have an if-else statement with it. It does and doesn't work, as in your code can be a little cleaner, but because of how SwiftUI identifies views, every so often you could then be splitting the view identity of that view. And because of that, your animations could then have some issues with it. But I know at least 2 different blog posts. I think there's a Swift by Sindel, a Donnie Walls. They have some amazing advice on it too.
All right, thank you.
Nice. Question from the audience. My designers have no bandwidth to follow Apple-specific design guidelines. What are good examples of liquid glass potential you've found that I can share?
Yes, so good examples would definitely be the Apple apps. So look at all the different Apple default applications for how they implement it. Because if you can just follow what they did, it has to be correct. So with that, you do the tab bar for music because that has the accessory. And then specifically the book one that I showed, that is the only place that they said that modifier practically gets used, because almost anything else should look like a liquid glass button. But once you have your profile pic up in the top, they're like, oh no, it's a little weird. So look at just all the default Apple apps on the different platforms as well.
Yeah, I would definitely just follow that up by saying I've been using Notes to work on all my notes on all this stuff today. And it's interesting because they have a bottom sort of tab bar-ish thing, but it's considerably less transparent than I think the actual tab bar that is. So it's interesting to look at when they do that to figure out, okay, at what point are they you know what, this needs to actually be more legible.
There's a fine line.
A very fine line.
Yeah, I'm going back to the APIs again. Do you have any good resources on how to find and describe what all the new APIs are? The view modifiers are kind of on a global namespace-ish, so it is very intimidating. And only one type of class or view modifier has glass in it. Do you have any good resources on how you found those and keep track of them?
Yeah, so I would definitely start with there's a specific doc that says adopting liquid glass, and that's what the Landmarks app has specifically. So it has half of the things there, of course, because I mean, it's documentation. So with that, it's got everything in the documentation to describe how it works. But then inside of the landmarks app itself, it doesn't use all the things that are described. But inside of the original doc, it has landmarks. This is how you adopt it. Start at the top, go down, and then in there, it links out to like 5 other articles individually talking about every specific thing. So talking about toolbars, talking about the tab bar, etc.
So I should just ask ChatGPT for all of the APIs.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. Cool.
You have to just copy paste. It's all good.
Yeah. You want to do that?
Yeah, this one, I don't know if it's too deep, but why does Glass Effect ID not use the ID of the component that you can give it? Like, it seems like kind of duplicative, but also not. Or that also might be part of the next talk, which goes deeper into reversing Glass things. So this might be a question I also ask next.
I would save that one for next.
Got it. Okay, cool.
How you don't question how the blobbymorphy works. It'll just work.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for now. And thank you very much, Mikaela. And we're going to get out of here.